Check again. Her laugh was the kind that cut through bone, sharp, unforgiving. It bounced across the courtroom walls, ricocheting off the mahogany benches until it settled inside me like a splinter. "I'm taking half your millions," she announced, her voice dripping with the same venom I had once mistaken for charm. She paused, eyes flickering toward me, just to twist the knife. "Including your grandmother's estate." The words dropped like lead. My grandmother's house, the one place untouched by the rot of betrayal. Her roses, her letters, her ghost still alive in the woodwork. And here she was desecrating it with laughter. The courtroom erupted, snickers, gasps, the low hum of gossip feeding on blood. Even the judge adjusted his glasses, suppressing what looked like amusement. But I didn't move, didn't flinch. Inside, the storm raged, but outside, I was a statue. I'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, waiting for her arrogance to expose itself. And when it did, I stood, slow, calculated, every muscle under control. I handed the judge the envelope I'd kept hidden. My voice was calm, almost indifferent. Check again. Silence spread like fire through dry grass. The judge opened the envelope. His eyes scanned. His mouth twitched. Then he looked at her. And for the first time in this entire trial, he laughed. That was the sound of her empire cracking. It hadn't started in the courtroom, no. Betrayal never announces itself so loudly at first. It begins with whispers, with shadows, with the subtle shift in how someone says your name. For me, it was a message. Not sent to me, of course. Sent to her. A slip of carelessness, a name that wasn't mine lighting up her phone at midnight. I told myself it was nothing. Denial is a warm blanket for a while. But when she smiled at that screen in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months, the blanket caught fire. Still, I stayed quiet. I watched. The late nights at work, the sudden perfume she never wore for me, the way she laughed at invisible jokes when her phone buzzed. Then the lie grew teeth. Documents, hidden in her drawer. Bank statements she thought I'd never see. Transfers, preparations, my life, my legacy slowly siphoned. The betrayal wasn't just in her body, it was in her hands, her plans, her silence. She was building her escape with my blood. But I didn't confront her, not yet. I smiled at breakfast, kissed her forehead, watched her walk out the door wearing my trust like a mask. And silently, I began dismantling her world. I started small. Phone records, numbers she thought I'd never check. A lawyer's name buried in her call history. A real estate agent, the same one she once swore she hated. Patterns emerged. DNA tests followed, not because I doubted my bloodline, but because doubt is poison. It seeps into your veins, demanding answers. I tested everything: receipts, signatures, trails of digital footprints she left behind like breadcrumbs for the careful eye. Every piece confirmed what my gut had screamed. This wasn't a marriage. It was a transaction. And I was the currency. At night, I lay next to her, her back turned, her breathing steady. My hand rested inches away from her spine, but the distance was infinite. I stared at the ceiling, rehearsing the silence I would weaponize when the time came. She thought she was clever. She thought I was blind. But I let her dig the grave deeper, because graves need depth to swallow everything. I met with my own lawyers in secret, moved funds where she couldn't reach, sealed off the estate with paperwork she'd never understand until too late. She laughed louder at dinner, smiled brighter when she thought I was losing, and all the while I prepared the envelope. The morning the evidence came in, I didn't even blank. Bank transfers traced to her lover, signed documents with her name betraying her intent to liquidate assets that weren't hers. Even falsified letters, plans to forge my grandmother's will. Every page confirmed the truth. She hadn't just betrayed me, she had orchestrated the theft of a legacy. I slid the papers back into the envelope. My hands were steady. My heart was quiet. That night, she kissed me goodnight, the taste of lies still warm on her lips. I kissed her back, gently, like a man already dead inside. And I waited for the courtroom. She laughed. She declared her victory. She thought she had already buried me. Until the judge read. Page after page, her schemes unfolded in the silence of the courtroom. Each word was a blade carving her smile into something grotesque. Her face drained of color. Her fingers gripped the table. Her laughter died in her throat. I didn't look at her. Not once. The judge chuckled, shaking his head. Well, it seems your claim isn't quite as solid as you thought. Gasps again, murmurs. Her mouth opened, desperate, but no sound came. She looked at me, searching for mercy. There was none, because mercy is wasted on the merciless. I simply sat back down, hands folded, as the room burned around her. When the gavel struck, it wasn't justice I felt. Justice is too clean a word. What I felt was the quiet of a storm finally spent, the kind that leaves trees broken, rivers swollen, but the sky clear. She stared at me, eyes wet, mouth trembling with words she couldn't form. But I didn't care for her language anymore. She had spoken enough lies to last a lifetime. I walked past her without pause, past the benches, the whispers, the stares, out into the cold air. The world looked sharper, colder, honest, and as I breathed it in, I realized something. She had tried to strip me of everything, my money, my legacy, my trust. But in the end, she only stripped herself. I didn't need her ruin. She carried it with her, forever. I left her in that courtroom, not as my wife, not even as my enemy, just as the last mistake I'd ever let define me.